My new deskmate was a gloomy, mute boy. But I was also severely socially anxious. I even used underground tunnels to avoid crowds when going out, and I communicated entirely through sign language. When he asked me to explain a question, I silently responded with a whole flurry of hand gestures. When he offered to buy me bubble tea, I lay awake until 3 a.m. before nervously replying, "Thank you, but no need." Later, his mother asked him curiously how he had managed to recover. The sharp-featured boy clutched a freshly written love letter, watching me vanish down a sewer grate. "Through gritted teeth," he said, "when you're pushed far enough, you'll overcome any illness." The moment I saw the transfer student Mark Williams, I knew we were from completely different worlds. He had a proud, sharp gaze, neat jet-black short hair, broad shoulders and long legs. Wherever he went, he was the center of attention. And me? I just wanted to be an unnoticed timid mouse, going to class, eating, and sleeping in peace. So when the teacher assigned us to sit together, I didn't even dare make eye contact. Should I say hello first? Maybe it'd be better to wait for him to speak? Oh, he's wiping the desk. I'll wait until he's done. Now he's lying down. I'll wait until he wakes up. But what if it's too late to greet him after he wakes up? In just a single minute, my brain reached new heights of overthinking. Luckily, that's when I overheard some gossip. My bestie said Mark Williams transferred because of his bad temper and antisocial behavior. Apparently, he can't make any friends. He might even be mute. No wonder he hasn't said a word since entering the class. What a waste of a good-looking guy. What? He's mute? That's perfect. I exhaled a long breath of relief, took out a packet of cookies from my desk drawer, and began nibbling slowly. After all, I was severely socially anxious too. Getting to share a desk with a gloomy, mute boy? I felt like the luckiest person in the world. Most of our classmates came from well-off families. Every morning, our class monitor, Andrew, would take breakfast orders from McDonald's. Seeing me munching on cookies, he rolled his eyes. "Phoebe, eat something decent, will you? You gnaw on expired cookies every day like some homeless stray." A few boys burst into laughter. I flinched as if electrocuted, then quietly lowered my head, pretending not to hear. Andrew and I had been classmates since elementary school. He used to be polite, the model student type. But after entering high school, he heard that lots of kids were secretly dating, so he decided he wanted a girlfriend too. For some unfathomable reason, he chose me. He sent my photos to his buddies, called me his wife in front of the whole class, and even gave me birth control pills on purpose. I cried every day, unable to explain myself. Fortunately, the teacher eventually found out, called both sets of parents, and Andrew was punished. Ever since then, he made no effort to hide his disdain for me. "Hey Mark, want some McDonald's? Our class has a discount card, you can get in on it for free." Andrew knocked on Mark's desk. When Mark didn't respond, he gave him a shove on the shoulder. Mark woke up. He ignored Andrew entirely and stared at me instead. His lips were pressed into a tight line, his eyes cold and unreadable, as if displeased. I felt like a timid mouse caught in the gaze of a cat. I didn't even dare chew the cookie in my mouth. A long moment later, I heard the beep of a payment scan. Mark had ordered 2 breakfasts and transferred the money to Andrew. One of them was for me. He slid the bag onto my desk, then lay back down to sleep. I didn't dare move. Not even a little. I had to refuse, right? You can't accept something that expensive the first time you meet someone. But if I refused too directly, would he think I disliked him? Maybe I should just accept it? No, I hadn't even introduced myself yet. But he's sleeping again. Like a frozen, lagging computer, my mind looped through those thoughts again and again. Only when class started did I snap out of it. And that's when I noticed, my test paper was pinned under Mark's arm. Should I wake him up? But interrupting someone's sleep seemed impolite. I hadn't thanked him for breakfast either. Wait, I hadn't even said hello. Maybe I should just wait. He'd probably wake up on his own. Though wouldn't it be too late to say hi after he wakes up? Mark and I sat in the very back corner of the classroom. The teacher rarely called on us. So, I actually sat through the whole class overthinking and didn't even dare touch Mark. When Mark finally woke up, he looked at the untouched breakfast, the paper crushed under his arm, and my utterly pathetic face. His long, thick eyelashes twitched, then he exploded like a volcano. "Are you mute? You get bullied and don't fight back, someone buys you food and you don't eat, your paper's stuck and you won't say anything, what the hell are you thinking?" Who said he was mute? He could clearly talk just fine. Didn't even need to pause for breath. Impressive. I stared at him nervously and slowly signed, "Hi. I'm Phoebe. Nice to meet you." Since he spoke first, it was time to proceed with step 1 of my social protocol, greet the new desk mate. Mark was briefly stunned. He looked like he had just choked on a steamed bun, whatever he was going to say was swallowed right back down. The next day, I wasn't sure what had happened to him. There was a large bruise under his eye, and his right cheek was slightly red, like he'd been slapped. Still, even like that, he was devastatingly handsome. He quickly mumbled a sorry. Then pulled a thick book from his bag. Basic Sign Language, 800 Lessons for Beginners. Even though I tried to refuse, Mark insisted on buying me breakfast again, as an apology, he said. Timid mouse me was so anxious I couldn't even sleep well. A McDonald's breakfast cost 12, and my daily allowance was only 15. That was way too extravagant. How could I possibly repay him? My family situation wasn't great. After my stepmother married my dad and brought her son along, my quality of life took a nosedive. I was forced to live in the attic storage room, and my stepmother had clearly told my dad she'd only allow him to support me until I turned 18. The money I got barely covered one meal a day, so I had to survive on my younger stepbrother's expired snacks and cookies that they threw out. The only thing I had going for me was my grades. I could rank in the top 100 of the year group. After thinking it over, I decided to tutor Mark in return. And then gave up 1 second later. My math score was 130. His? 148, even his English essay was 0.5 points higher than mine. Who was tutoring whom again? In the end, I could only repay him the dumbest way I knew. If he coughed, I got him water. If he forgot to do homework, I offered mine up for him to copy. When we had to collect test papers from the office, I picked his up too, so he wouldn't have to go. As I left the office, I suddenly heard Andrew's mocking voice behind me. Well, so you like guys like Mark, huh? He gave me a shove. Apparently, his test paper had fallen, and I'd accidentally stepped on it. Have you looked at yourself? You look like a rat that crawled out of the sewer. Mark doesn't even bother to glance your way. Hating me won't help. I scored 140, that's still higher than you. Mark and we're both guys you'll never be good enough for. I stayed silent for a moment, then decided to lower my head and walk away like a timid mouse. I honestly couldn't think of a single insult to hurl back. Even if it escalated like last time and the parents got called in, my dad would just scold me for being immature and interfering with his work. My stepmother would stand by, sarcastically blaming me, saying things like my voice sounded like a brothel girl's, and that wearing hair clips meant I was trying to seduce boys. It was because of her that I gradually stopped speaking altogether. Better to avoid trouble than invite it. I glared at Andrew fiercely. The moment I turned to leave, a familiar figure stormed in and punched Andrew straight to the ground. Blood gushed from his nose. Next time, hit him just like I did. Got it? Don't bother talking to trash like him. Just beat him up once so he remembers. Do you seriously have no temper at all? You're spineless, timid, always hiding. What the hell goes on in that brain of yours? I'm seriously gonna explode. I mean, really? Whoever said Mark was mute? He just fired off 3 whole sentences without even stopping to breathe. Slowly, I took out Mark's test paper from my arms and signed to him. Congrats on scoring 145 in math. That's amazing. The machine gun ranting Mark suddenly froze. His Adam's apple bobbed. It looked like he was thinking about something. After a long pause, he raised his hand and poked my forehead. His fingertips were dry and warm. And that faint scent of snow-dusted pine drifted right up into my nose. Weird. When did we become this close? I wasn't even afraid to look him in the eyes anymore. Well, Andrew did bleed quite a lot, after all. That same day happened to be the parent-teacher conference. The teacher called on both sets of parents for a meeting. I hid in the dark corridor, watching the office. When the two of them came out, Andrew shoved his hands in his pockets and casually said, "Hey, you'd better not get interested in Phoebe. Her family treats her like crap. My mom's been the one attending parent meetings for her. I don't need to explain what that says about our relationship, right? Andrew's mom and my birth mother used to be best friends. After Mom passed away, no one at home wanted to come to my meetings. Andrew's mom felt sorry for me and always picked up my documents so I wouldn't be embarrassed. But what did he mean by the second half of that? Everyone knew we were mortal enemies. What was he implying? Timid mouse couldn't make sense of it. So I gave up trying to think and just crouched quietly in the dark. A few minutes later, footsteps approached. Someone in the darkness seemed startled by me and swore out loud, "Shit." The motion-activated lights turned on. Soft white light fell on Mark's shocked face. He looked like a Greek sculpture, impossibly handsome from every angle. "Why are you sitting here all alone at night? Not saying a word, creeping around like a ghost. Aren't you scared?" "See? Mark even pauses to breathe now. He's basically a normal person." I slowly signed an explanation. "I want to wait until everyone leaves before going home." What if I ran into a classmate's parents on the way back? Would I have to greet them? It'd be even more awkward if I saw Andrew's mom. Even if I saw a teacher getting off work, I couldn't just pretend I didn't notice. The thought alone was terrifying. Better to wait until everyone was gone. Mark looked at me with a complicated expression. His beautiful eyes seemed to hold countless unspoken words. His mom called, urging him to go home. Before leaving, he waved his phone at me. Oh, right. We'd added each other as contacts last time. But I'd forgotten to add a remark to his name. 2 days later, he was deleted from my list, probably thought I was a stranger. I re-added him at home and properly added a nickname this time. When I returned to the chat screen, I noticed he had deleted 4 messages. Only 2 remained. My mom just does beauty treatments and plays golf. She's also a volunteer who sponsors underprivileged kids. If you ever need someone for a parent-teacher meeting, you can ask her. She's got plenty of free time. My heart skipped a few beats. Thank you. I want to be your friend. Just as I sent that message, my charging phone suddenly shut off. 10 minutes later, when it finally restarted. The last 2 words, your friend, had failed to send. The sky was falling. My brain was melting. Think. I want to be a model citizen under the red flag of the new era, with you. Hey, you there? I'm in trouble. Can I borrow 50,000? Oops, sorry, my account got hacked. Don't believe any money transfer requests. Thanks. In just 10 seconds, my fingers were typing so fast they practically blurred. Mark's chat kept showing, typing. Finally, he replied with 2 lines, did you send that to Andrew too? You're not allowed to send that to anyone else. In that moment, my overheated brain gave out and completely crashed. Instinctively, I opened Mark's profile. And deleted him from my contacts. I didn't understand what just happened. It was too awkward. Let this timid little mouse quietly exit the planet, please. Monday. I gritted my teeth and crawled back into the classroom from the sewer path. Pretended I didn't see Mark had arrived. Pretended I was too engrossed in a math problem to say hi. But I could feel his cold gaze beside me, with just a hint of amusement. The moment the bell rang, Mark's large, well-defined hand pressed down on my math paper. He tapped it lightly with his fingers, then turned it right side up. I had it upside down. Aw. How embarrassing. Please just let me fall asleep on this desk and never wake up again. 2 minutes later, I jerked upright like I'd been electrocuted. The teacher wouldn't allow naps. The entire language class, I didn't dare look Mark in the eyes. Then, right before class ended, came the dictation. Once again, total disaster. I had completely forgotten about it and was totally unprepared. The language teacher announced that anyone who failed would be called up next period to stand and write it on the blackboard. Wasn't that basically a public execution? Timid mouse, you're doomed. Rustle. The sound of paper fluttering came from beside me. Mark was leaning on one hand, using the other to fan himself with a piece of white paper. On that paper was a neatly handwritten copy of the Eulogy of a Pang Palace, including all the lines I had forgotten. Salvation was right in front of me. Should I copy it? But if I stared too hard, he might notice. I bit my pen in anxiety. Mark's eyes narrowed as he gently laid the paper flat, slipping it ever so casually right into my line of sight. And just like that, timid mouse's world lit up again. Come on, you useless hands, copy. But the next second, Mark placed his phone on top of the paper. His fingers casually tapped at the screen, right where it said, you are no longer friends with this user. Timid mouse scratched her head. Timid mouse suddenly went blind. Mark picked up the phone. Timid mouse could see again. Copy. Hurry. He repeated the motion a few more times. Then, Mark's lips curled slightly, and a soft, low chuckle escaped. Like a feather brushing against my ear. My heartbeat skipped in sync. And then, a furious voice cut through the air. Teacher, I'd like to report Mark and Phoebe for cheating and playing on their phones during dictation. Andrew, from the first row, was pointing straight at us in the back. His eyes practically screamed smug malice. You again? What is your problem? If your eyesight's that sharp, why not go spy on the SATs? Why are you only focused on catching others cheating? I decided then and there, I would curse him in my heart for life. Both Mark and I were marked as fail for the dictation. Mark didn't seem to care. He kept scrolling on his phone. He was just flipping back and forth through our chat history. Meanwhile, I squirmed in my seat, completely on edge. Eventually, I pulled out my phone and sent him another friend request. The 2 of us sat side by side, chatting on WeChat like nothing happened. Got hacked yesterday. Sent out a bunch of random messages. Even deleted a bunch of contacts. Did I delete you too? Ha ha ha, so sorry. Total misunderstanding. You're not mad, right? A long pause. Then Mark suddenly tilted his head toward me, his voice low, raspy, and slightly helpless. Next time you get hacked, could you at least only send those to me? Timid mouse's brain froze, again. What did that mean? I couldn't figure it out. The world was too complicated. I wanted to go back to my sewer tunnel. As I stared down, nervously twisting my fingers, unsure what to say. A filthy basketball came flying toward me. Mark immediately raised a hand and smacked it away. A gust of wind blew past, making it hard to keep my eyes open. From across the court, Andrew stood smirking with his chin lifted proudly. Oops, my throw was off. Hey Mark, wanna play basketball next period? Haven't seen you play with the guys. Don't know how? Too weak? Are you even a man? Mark tilted his head, looking at him like he was watching a clown. That morning's PE class had been rescheduled last minute due to the math teacher's absence. Only freshmen and sophomores were on the court. Andrew kept shouting about organizing a basketball match. He said there were too many people in our class, so Mark should join the sophomore team. Mark, ever silent and stoic, didn't say a word in protest. As soon as the game started, Andrew grabbed the ball and charged forward like a maniac, only to be instantly intercepted by Mark, who towered over him. Mark spun around and shot a flawless three-pointer. Then again, another attempt, again stolen mid-run, again a perfect three-pointer. Mark landed lightly, effortlessly stealing the spotlight. Screams erupted from the sidelines, all girls. And no wonder. Mark truly was dazzling, like a streak of vibrant, unfiltered color cutting through the court. His skin was pale, his hair jet black, and as he leapt for another shot, the outline of his abs rippled beneath his jersey. Game over. 72-10. Mark had dropped a full 50 points on Andrew. As they brushed past each other, I saw, for the first time, a bone-chilling coldness in Mark's eyes. He looked at Andrew like he was trash and said coolly, even a bot would shake its head at your court awareness. We're not in the same league, how would we even play? Andrew's face turned purple with humiliation. He crushed a water bottle in his hand and hurled it to the ground, shouting, "What are you so smug about? How many points will you get on the college entrance exam? Are you class president? A model student? School is about grades." But no matter how much he shouted, Mark didn't respond with even a single word. Heh. I was absolutely loving this. I couldn't help but grin like an idiot. After packing up, Mark left the court. A swarm of girls immediately ran over to offer him water. He waved them off, refusing them all. Then, he lifted the manhole cover and came looking for me. Suddenly, I couldn't smile anymore. Why was he looking at me like that? Why was he reaching out his hand? I hadn't blocked his path, had I? Carefully, cautiously, I dropped a used candy wrapper into his palm. Mark blinked, slightly stunned. Then his lips curved into a faint, unreadable smile as he pulled his hand back. He turned and walked to the vending machine. Returned with a bottle of mineral water, shoved it into my hand. Then took it right back. Thanks for the water. Even if I was the slowest person on earth, I could feel it now. Mark treated me a little differently. But why? What could a girl like me possibly have to offer? I agonized over it for a long time before finally working up the courage to message him. Can I give you a suggestion? Go ahead. When we're outside, could we pretend not to know each other? No. Okay. Timid mouse, defeated. So I started doing my best to avoid Mark wherever I could. No encounters. No eye contact. If he went somewhere, I didn't. If he touched something, I wouldn't. Just so no one would say things like, "Who's that short-haired girl giving Mark water?" Wait, we had someone like that in class 7. Poor and plain, who gave her the nerve to like Mark? Yeah. I knew I didn't deserve him. Trash should stay in the trash can. I already knew that. After days of silence, I finally gave him another suggestion. When others ask you academic questions, could you not pretend to be mute? A lot of people have heard you talk to me. Nope. Okay. Timid mouse, defeated again. I put my phone down quietly and tucked my hands into my sleeves. Mark put down his phone too. The awkwardness between us began to build. Was Mark mad at me for real? I'd given him 2 suggestions now. Did he think I hated him? Was it that obvious I'd been avoiding him? I didn't want to ruin this. Even if it wasn't romantic, I genuinely valued this friendship. He was one of the few people I had. Should I explain? He's drinking water, wait until he finishes. Now he's looking for his paper, wait until he finds it. He's picked up a pen, is he about to solve a problem? Then I'll wait, suddenly. That cool, piney scent overwhelmed me. Mark leaned in close, his long lashes casting soft shadows over his eyes. He looked, oddly like a wronged puppy. I'm not pretending to be mute. That big question? I got 8 points. You got 14. You'll have to explain it to me first before I can help anyone else. Oh. So that's what it was? He wasn't angry. We were still friends, right? I smiled obediently and began signing the explanation with both hands, my gestures so fast they looked like ninja hand signs. It was a math problem, so of course I had to write out the steps. I picked up my pen and wrote. I don't hate you. Ah. Let me die. How did I end up writing what I was thinking? Just as I went to scribble it out, Mark snatched the pen from my hand. And under my childish handwriting, he added a line in bold, confident strokes, got it. The slight upward flick at the end made my heart skip. Then I heard him laugh again. Low, gentle, and inexplicably flirty. Right then, a sweet voice broke the moment. Mark, do you have a second? I've got something I'd like to tell you in private. It was the academic leader. A clean, pretty, confident, and cheerful girl. The kind of girl that made you instinctively feel she matched well with someone like Mark. Right? They were the type of couple straight out of a teen romance novel. After much internal struggle, I messaged Mark again during evening study hall. When the academic leader confesses to you, could you not stare at me the whole time? No. Okay. Timid mouse, crushed. Mark replied to every message, agreed to nothing, and got a triple kill MVP. Hee. That night during study hall, we were supposed to fill out worksheets. But when the stack was passed to the back row, we happened to run out. The teacher asked the academic leader to take Mark and me to the office to make copies. What an awkward little trio. Ever seen a castle in the sewer? I built it with my toes. As I slowed my pace, trying to fade into the shadows. The academic leader stopped first. Mark, even though you rejected me, we're still friends. Let's not be awkward when we see each other, okay? You know, when you first came here, you looked so intense, those sharp eyes, even your eyebrows slanted like you were ready to throw punches. Brooding and dangerous. You were the type who'd hit to kill. Sure, you were handsome, but only a dumbass like Andrew would dare ask if you wanted McDonald's. But now? You smile, you talk, you're not always sleeping alone on your desk. You even played games with the boys the other day. As your friend, I'm really happy to see you changing for the better. Whatever you went through before, I hope you can walk out of it soon, and never look back. She smiled warmly. Patted his shoulder. Then patted mine. It was a really beautiful smile. I heard Mark whisper softly, thank you. And he smiled too. People always say the key to unlocking a closed heart is love, bold and reckless. But there are many kinds of keys. Sometimes, a sincere friendship can be salvation too. When we returned to class after copying the worksheets, the teacher had gone to a group meeting and left Andrew in charge of keeping everyone on task. But something about the class atmosphere felt off. Especially when people looked at Mark. As we walked back to our seats, Andrew let out a snort of laughter. Mark, we were just talking, heard your dad's in prison. No wonder you couldn't make friends at your last school. No wonder Phoebe's been avoiding you lately. Like father, like son. No way someone like you turns out decent. How did he even connect these things? What the hell was wrong with Andrew? Why would he expose someone's deepest wound in front of the whole class? The moment he finished his sentence, Mark leapt over the podium and punched him in the head. The blow shattered Andrew's glasses. Blood splattered across Mark's shadowed face, his once clear eyes now tinged with crimson, dark and chilling. The other students rushed to pull them apart. The teacher came back soon after. Both boys were given disciplinary warnings, and the Williams family had to pay a hefty sum for Andrew's medical bills before the matter settled. But soon after, the boys in class began to distance themselves from Mark. No one greeted him. No one took his homework. No one asked him to join the McDonald's orders. Even his test papers were accidentally skipped during handouts. Mark seemed not to care. He tossed his backpack beside his seat, laid his head down, and napped through the day. A lifeless shell. Timid Mouse Me was about to panic. As the bell rang for class and Mark was still asleep, I elbowed him awake. You already got in trouble once, don't make it worse. It was English class, and we had to silently write vocabulary. Mark wrote his name on the blank sheet, and then stopped. He sat still, twirling his black pen between long fingers, eyes glazed over like a withdrawn child. I bit my lip and pushed my paper to the right. Wrote a word. Pushed it again. Wrote another. Pushed it further. Until it was right in front of Mark. See that? Copy it. You don't want a zero and a public scolding too, right? Mark slowly raised his eyes. His irises were a deep, inky black, dull and void of light. He looked so empty. Then he lifted his own sheet, ripped it in half, and walked straight out of the classroom through the back door. Even though Andrew had paid the price for his mouth, the rumors didn't stop. They only grew worse. Some people even said Mark was about to transfer again. During morning exercise break, I overheard some girls from the grade below whispering, I bet his dad's a murderer. That's why he turned out so violent and cruel. Remember how intense he was during that basketball game? Bet he fights like that too. Pretty sure we've all seen it. What's the point of being handsome? He's a ticking time bomb. Get too close and you're the one who gets hurt. Look, even his classmates avoid him now. We were supposed to stand in pairs for the exercises, but no boys were willing to stand next to Mark. Eventually, he ended up trailing at the very back of the line. A tall, thin silhouette swallowed by the shadows where sunlight didn't reach. His back looked so lonely. I pressed a hand to my chest. And made the boldest decision of my entire life. I lifted the sewer cover, and ran toward him. Whatever. With my hoodie up, you couldn't tell if I was a boy or girl from behind. Whatever. The teachers never looked twice at the kids in the back row anyway. Whatever. There were too many whatevers. I just wanted to grab his sleeve and run. Run out of the darkness. To show him, I was here. I hadn't abandoned him. This time, Timid Mouse was all in. I held on to Mark and ran lap after lap with him. Only when the crowd thinned and the music faded did we stop in a quiet corner of the field. Mark wouldn't let me turn around and look at him. He drew a shaky breath. When he spoke, his voice was hoarse and trembling, every word saturated with deep-rooted shame. This is how people have always hated me. When they found out my dad was in prison, they got scared. What he did, what does it have to do with me? I'm not like him. Please don't hate me. I thought for a long time but couldn't find the right words to comfort him. If I hadn't lived his pain, I had no right to say hollow things like, "It gets better." So all I could do was tighten my grip on his sleeve. I didn't have much to offer. But what little love I had to give, I gave it to him. We made it back to class just before the bell. And as soon as I looked up, I saw Andrew and a few boys snickering behind their hands. I turned to look. Someone had scrawled across the blackboard, "Phoebe loves the murderer's son." Andrew caught my eye and grinned, smug. Wasn't me. No idea who wrote it. Don't glare at me like that. Which one of you wrote it, huh? You all know how Brother Mark gets when he's angry. Might bash your brains out. Mark's eyes were cold, like he was used to this. He turned quietly and went to erase the board. But seeing Andrew's smug, mocking face, it made my blood boil. My ears buzzed. Like something precious I was trying to protect was being trampled on. Worse than being bullied myself. So I snatched the eraser and shoved it into Andrew's mouth. You're disgusting. This is what a class monitor does? You're literally leading the bullying. The voice came from the academic leader. She slammed her desk and jumped to her feet, pointing at Andrew furiously. Let's be fair, Mark's been in this class for half a year and hasn't bothered anyone. You're targeting him just because you like Phoebe and she doesn't like you back. A bunch of us girls already figured it out. You think we don't know? You're not even in the same league as Mark. Hell, you're not even a decent human being, even Tofu has more brains than you. Several students stood up in agreement, calling Andrew out for bullying and speaking up for Mark. Andrew's face turned beet red, like a slab of raw liver. He exploded, "Oh, you all love Mark, huh? Go be besties with him then. Bet none of you even dare touch him." I looked it up online. His dad's crime was attempted murder. That blood runs in his veins too. The classroom fell silent. I saw Mark's hand clench into a tight fist, his knuckles white from restraint. His eyes turned red. And in that moment, I don't know where my courage came from. But I ran up and grabbed his hand. I remembered how, as kids, our teacher once took us to visit children with cancer. Anyone who held their hand would get praised, and earn a little red flower sticker. If those kids had a choice, they wouldn't want to be that way either. They didn't deserve to be treated differently. And I couldn't bear to see Mark being hurt. I liked him. I wanted to protect him. The matter eventually reached the principal. A few days later, Andrew's parents came to school to bow and apologize to Mark and his foster mother. From then on, no one brought up his father or his past again. Things went back to normal. Everyone shifted their focus to studying and preparing for the college entrance exam. As for me, I gathered the courage to make one more request of Mark. Could you stop putting your hand so close to mine during class? You mean, you don't want to hold hands? Yeah. Nope. But you held mine first. Okay. I put down my phone. My cheeks were burning. After everything that had happened, my relationship with Mark had grown naturally closer. I no longer obsessed over how to say hello. No longer worried about disturbing his naps. And he? He was no longer brooding. Every day, he held my hand openly, shared snacks, and chatted with me about anything and everything under the sun. He even planned out our future. In a small coastal city like ours, the college entrance exam was basically a springboard to the big international metropolis, a city. With his grades, it wouldn't be a problem. And since no one in my family cared about me, he even helped me choose a school and major in a city. The admission score wasn't high, and the cost-performance ratio was excellent. The academic leader asked me in secret whether Mark and I were officially dating. I mumbled and couldn't give her a clear answer. I was definitely moved. But it all felt so unreal. Mark's adoptive mother was rich, and he was incredibly smart. I'd heard he was aiming for the top university, University A, and planned to pursue a path toward the Chinese Academy of Sciences. But I was just a small, timid mouse with no ambition, no assets, and a weak personality. I didn't even want to leave our hometown. My plan was to muddle through college, find some ordinary job, earn a little money, and just get by for the rest of my life. Like my dad always said, people like me wouldn't amount to much. I didn't even dare tell Mark. I liked him. But I didn't think I deserved him. After winter break, Mark started making little requests of me. Could you please stop sending me mass Lunar New Year messages? You even addressed me as "Dear Teacher" at the start. It's really awkward. Sorry, anything else? About the New Year gift I got you, even if you don't want it, could you at least reply to me? Sorry, anything else? This morning, you said you'd wait for me by the sewer entrance. Why did you go ahead without me? Sorry, anything else? When can I have an official status with you? Seeing the typing indicator flash repeatedly on my phone, I panicked and locked the screen, forcing myself to focus on my homework instead. Sensing my avoidance, Mark began twirling his pen, then pulled out a blank sheet of paper and began to write. He deliberately leaned in close, so that each word practically jumped into my eyes. A confession letter. Dear Phoebe, I've had my eye on you for a long time. I slammed my book shut and fled the room, cheeks burning, just to get some air. I really shouldn't be like this. If I thought I wasn't good enough, I should have rejected him from the start. Not strung him along in ambiguous silence. When Mark walked toward me from afar, a ray of light broke through the clouds and fell right on him. His figure was outlined by the sunlight, clean, pure, indescribably beautiful. And in that moment, greedy little me made a decision in my heart. Maybe I could give it a try? Try opening my heart to him. Try applying to the university in a city with him. Try walking out of the sewer and into his world. Even if we broke up someday. At least for now, I didn't want to lie and say I didn't love him. However, the very next second, I immediately abandoned that thought and bolted back toward the sewer. Why on earth was Mark's mom here too? I had totally forgotten, this morning was the senior parent assembly. I'm sorry, Mark, but timid little mouse me really wasn't ready to meet your mom. I'm out. Mark's adoptive mother walked a few steps with her son and asked curiously where that girl had gone. She really wanted to see who had healed Mark, and how she'd done it. The last thing I heard was Mark staring furiously at the sewer, gritting his teeth. Mom, you might not believe this. But when someone's desperate enough, any illness can be cured. I hid until the parent meeting was over before sneaking back to class and apologizing to Mark. As expected, his face was icy as a glacier. No matter how I poked or prodded, it wouldn't melt. Anxious and silent for too long, I blurted out. Moo. Mark froze, stunned. Sorry. I didn't mean to run off. I was just scared to meet your mom. Mark blinked, his expression stiff. Phoebe, you can talk. Wait, had I never told him? Crap, why did it feel like the more I explained, the angrier he got? No, Mark, don't walk away. You still need to turn in your homework, I'm the math class rep. To try and explain things, I waited outside the gym during PE to catch him. Unexpectedly, the first person to show up was Andrew. He handed me a bottle of cold water, dribbling his basketball sheepishly. Hey, about everything that happened. I'm really sorry. I was wrong. It's not that I hated you or anything, I just... Phoebe, do you think we could start over? I've actually liked you since we were little. Our moms are best friends, our families are about the same, and you want to stay in the city, right? We could go to a local college, buy a house together someday. A lot of people just live out their lives like that. I took a deep breath and, with perfect clarity, cut him off. Shut your stupid mouth. The next second, I saw Mark standing behind Andrew, completely stunned. So, that's the future you had planned? You never told me any of this. Is that how clearly you speak to him? But when it's with me? Have you been lying to just me? Dear God. Please save this miserable little timid mouse. This misunderstanding might be messier than my entire life. No, it's not like that. I didn't mean to fake being mute. Mark shook his head and turned away, leaving me with a disappointed glance. Where was I supposed to begin explaining? I did want to stay in the city at first, but I changed my mind later. No, maybe I should start with the fact that I'm not actually mute. I never meant to lie to him. I'm just painfully socially anxious. The world felt like a complete mess. So I decided to drink something first. I'd need energy to study. After all, a student's top priority is studying. With that mindset, Mark and I gave each other the cold shoulder for days, neither of us speaking, just focusing on prep tests at school. To my surprise, the first person who approached me was Mark's adoptive mother. Last time I'd been too busy diving into the sewer to see clearly. This time, I got a good look. She was an elegant and beautiful woman. Totally from a different world than this timid mouse. Hello. Hi, little Phoebe. You're so adorable. No wonder Mark's been thinking about you for 8 years. Mark's adoptive mother, Ella, sipped her coffee and slowly recounted the past. She said Mark's birth parents divorced early. His mother left him with his father. But his dad was an alcoholic, a violent gambler. Yes, he really was in prison, but the charge was attempted murder. He had tried to kill Mark for the insurance money. When Ella visited with the volunteers, 10-year-old Mark had already been chained up at home for years, skinny as a puppy, with maggot-infested wounds all over his face and hands. He'd never gone to school, barely even knew how to speak. So during his hospital stay, he couldn't make any friends at all. Until he met a little girl. She wore a beautiful pink dress, coming alone to visit her mother who was in a coma from a car accident. Even though she was deeply sad herself, she still comforted the lonely Mark in the hospital room. She said, "If others don't like you, you can like yourself. If you're hungry, eat. If you want friends, go say hi first. You're no worse than anyone else, so what's there to be afraid of?" Mark spent years trying to find that little girl, and one day, by pure chance, he discovered. His new deskmate was that very same girl. And now, he even knew her name. Phoebe. Ella chuckled softly and tilted her head at me. "I heard your mother passed away later. It really affected you, didn't it? You became terribly withdrawn, even preferred sneaking through sewers when going out. You're probably scared his love isn't real, that you two aren't a good match. But maybe it was just a stray bullet you shot in childhood, now landing years later right between his brows. He was always meant to be yours. Be brave, just like your 10-year-old self. If you like something, go after it." Before lunch break ended, I ran straight to the basketball court to find Mark. No more hiding. No more excuses. I took a deep breath, and finally said what was in my heart. "I like you too, Mark. I want to be with you, not just this spring, but for everything ahead. I want to grow better with you. I want every future plan to have you in it. You are the perfect piece in all the beauty I've ever encountered. Life is just 30,000 days long. So what if I fail? I'll still choose to love." This video is an original work of the YouTube channel Romance Grove and is published exclusively on this channel. Please don't re-upload or share it on other channels. Extra chapter. I scored just enough to squeeze into a popular university and major in a city. Mark's university was right next door. During our freshman year, my dad told me that my stepmother was pregnant again, and they wanted to turn my little attic room into a nursery. This time, I didn't meekly say yes. I cut ties with them completely. They no longer paid my tuition. And I wouldn't support them in old age. A fair deal on both ends. When Andrew learned I hadn't stayed in our hometown, he actually repeated a year, just to prove he could get into a city too. But just 2 months into college, he got reported for harassing female classmates and mocking male ones. He refused to back down and gathered a group of thugs to teach one of the boys a lesson. Unfortunately, the boy practiced martial arts and, acting in self-defense, knocked out 4 of Andrew's teeth. The school determined it was a serious offense and expelled him. On the day he was sent home, he was screaming hysterically, pointing at girls on the street, "Phoebe, why do you look down on me? I was class president, a model student. What does that murderer's son have that I don't?" Later, I told the whole story to Mark as a joke. He went quiet for a moment, then asked, "So, you went to see Andrew off today?" That day, Mark nearly kissed my lips swollen. When I asked for a break, he pouted dramatically, eyes dim with gloom. "Disappointed," he whispered, "so now you're disgusted with me." Timid mouse me didn't dare rest. Not one bit. In our 4th year together, we reached legal marriage age, and we registered. Mark gave up his guaranteed postgraduate placement at the Chinese Academy of Sciences and chose to start a business. He wanted to make money to fund my education. I refused. He ignored me. He insisted on supporting me. "A virtuous husband lifts me to chase great dreams," he said. "Even if I don't make it, he'll still lift me again." Mark wouldn't stop. He'd lift me again and again, then lean close, whispering into my ear, "Did you make it this time? No? Let's go again." So timid mouse, who barely passed her entrance exam, bit the bullet. Just so I could have a few days rest, I registered for grad school. Aiming for a top-tier university. I fainted 58 times over advanced calculus. Got hypnotized by English lectures 645 times. Hesitated 1 million times while drafting emails to potential advisors. Eventually, Mark lost his patience. He lifted me right in front of the computer. Tears streaming down my face, too overwhelmed to think, I hit send. And hey, I got accepted. In the 2nd year of my master's, Mark's startup got acquired by a tech giant. Overnight, he became a billionaire. Meanwhile, the cells I was culturing hadn't even made it past 100 generations. The comparison was brutal. Heh. That afternoon, he came to campus to have lunch with me. As soon as we sat down, he asked, "Your advisor gave you a hard time again today?" I asked how he could tell. "You didn't hold the cafeteria curtain open for the person behind you. Didn't stop to pick up that fallen bike. No scent of disinfectant on you, so you didn't go to the lab. Must have stayed in bed all day. Babe, don't I know you? You always choose to suffer quietly rather than throw a fit. I shed tears of remorse. Then bought 2 full-priced bubble teas to rebel against the world. Mark asked what my plans were. He had his eye on several companies related to my field. He said he wanted to support my academic dreams again. If I wanted to pursue a PhD, he'd already scouted top programs and advisors. Or, we could study abroad together. Did I have a dream country in mind? What, you haven't thought of anything? I've worked myself to the bone paying your tuition, coding line after line, all so my virtuous wife could shine one day. Mark looked increasingly pitiful. But I felt no guilt. After all these years, I'd long seen through him. He was a wolf in sheep's clothing. Back in high school, he staged breakdowns just to get me to confess. In college, he faked anger to trick me into kissing him again and again. So this time, I rolled my eyes unapologetically. You mean that bitter hardship of yours, making $1 billion, appearing on finance headlines, and trending on 23 topics in one night? Poor you. Let's switch places for a few days, shall we? Mouthful of braised chicken, sipping bubble tea he handed me, we bickered and laughed until our stomachs hurt. As for the future? Timid Mouse hasn't thought that far. But Timid Mouse is already perfectly happy right now.